In Kansas, too many children still struggle to read at grade level. But the story isn't just about struggling students. It's about the systems, the programs, and the leaders shaping how reading is taught. I'm Jesica Glover, and this is My Child Can't Read, a Heartland Crisis, a documentary-style podcast about how students are left behind and what can be done to help them. In this season, called The Anatomy of Change, we take a look inside teacher preparation programs, classrooms, and among state-level leaders directing the future of literacy in Kansas. We talk with educators, parents, and experts about what works, from evidence-based curriculum and teacher training to coaching and assessment. You'll hear stories of students who found their footing when instruction finally matched the science of reading, and the systemic barriers that still hold too many kids back. Change isn't easy, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it is happening in Kansas and across the nation. And in this season, we'll show you how, why, and who is leading the charge. This is a story about systems, science, and people refusing to accept failure as the status quo. Because all our kids deserve to read, understand, and thrive right here in the Heartland. Welcome to a special bonus episode of My Child Can't Read, a Heartland Crisis. I'm Jesica Glover, a mom, National Board Certified teacher, former reading specialist, and business owner right here in Kansas. This season, we've been exploring the anatomy of change, what really takes place to move from broken systems to hope-filled solutions in reading education. Today, we're bringing you a story that captures that journey, struggle, discovery, and transformation. Our guest is Tammy Kofford, now the director of the Andeal Teacher Literacy Institute at Phillips Fundamental Learning Center. Her journey began, like so many teachers, with a college education, a classroom full of eager students, and a toolbox of strategies that simply didn't work. But instead of giving up, she dug deeper. She found the science of reading through the Alphabetic Phonics training program and discovered her own dyslexia along the way, which ended up shifting her classroom heartbreak into hope. This is her story.
My name is Tammy Kofford. I graduated from a state college in 1989 with a bachelor's degree in elementary education. When I was living in Texas in 1999, I took courses from the Scottish Rite Center, West Texas, and became a qualified instructor for academic language therapy. I am currently the Director of Teacher Training for Phillips Fundamental Learning Center and have worked the past 26 years training teachers to support students who struggle with dyslexia and other reading difficulties.
Tammy, let's go back to the beginning. You graduated from a state college in 1989 during the height of whole language instruction. Can you paint a picture for us? What were your early classroom experiences like, and how were you taught to teach reading?
After college, I moved to Texas and took a job teaching first grade at a small rural college in the Panhandle. At that time, teaching whole language was a trend for reading instruction. I was taught that if I read great literature to my students and created engaging reading centers where my students can memorize words from the Dulce or Fry list, that they would learn to read.
Over time, what did you start noticing about your students, especially those who struggled?
Well, at first, I trusted the training I received from college and the curriculum that the school gave me. I would open up the teacher's manual and read through it and follow the directions. But I quickly realized that only about a third of my class was catching on to reading. So I'd stay after school until around 7 o'clock every night trying to figure out a better way to teach them. I tried many different methods, but nothing seemed to be working, and I really didn't know what to do.
At what point did you begin to realize there might be gaps in your training, and what led you to seek out the science of reading?
Well, I realized that I didn't have enough information about how to teach reading or how to help those struggling readers in my class. I also had a lot of empathy for the struggling readers because I struggled to read in school myself. And I wanted to be the teacher who helped the struggling readers so they didn't feel dumb like I did. So I began searching for a better approach. I spoke to one of my friends who taught special education, and she attended training at the Scottish Rite Learning Center of West Texas to become a certified academic language therapist, specializing in how to teach students who struggle with dyslexia and other reading difficulties. So in the summer of 1994, I decided to take the training.
Here's where the anatomy of Tammy's change really began. After your summer training at the Scottish Rite Learning Center of West Texas, everything shifted. Can you tell us how this training transformed your teaching, Tammy?
Well, during that 3-week training course, I realized that I struggled to read as a child because I was dyslexic. I never heard of dyslexia before. I never even thought about myself being dyslexic. And I also started to realize that a lot of the struggling readers in my class were dyslexic as well. In the course, I learned a great deal of information about teaching reading that I never was taught in college, which made me question, why aren't colleges teaching teachers how to teach reading this way when this approach to reading has been around since like the 1960s? Unfortunately, it's been almost 31 years and I'm still asking that question. After completing my training in 1994, everything changed. I changed jobs and I became the Title I migrant teacher for 1st to 4th grade. I had 35 students qualify for my class because they struggled to read. And I placed those students in small groups of 8, started teaching them the Alphabetic Phonics program for an hour a day, 5 days a week. I had taught a lot of these kids as 1st graders, but they still weren't able to read. But after starting the program with them, I could see an increase in their confidence and in their reading abilities in just a few months. I was so excited to finally find a program that worked. I also noticed a difference in my own reading abilities, and I was beginning to spell better. I felt like I was remediating myself right along with remediating my students. Fast forward to 1998, I moved back to Kansas. My husband and I relocated to Wichita, and I decided to continue to teach the Alphabetic Phonics program as a private therapist, and I also got a job as a reading specialist at a small private school. During this time, I met Janine Phillips, and she was starting a teacher training center. She needed an assistant instructor, so I decided to join her. I completed my training to become a qualified instructor, and I started teaching teachers in the summer to become academic language therapists. In 2000, Janine and I, with Gretchen Andel, opened Phillips Fundamental Learning Center. At the same time, the National Health Foundation had just published its research that they had conducted over a 35-year period at 47 different research sites across the nation. And they compiled it in a book called the National Reading Plan Report. This book was mailed out to all the members of the State Board of Education across our nation. This research is what we now consider the science of reading. Research-based evidence on how reading should be taught to all students. Once the science of reading research was published, Janine and I were thrilled to discover that the methods we've been using to teach students with dyslexia for years were the same ones proven effective in the research conducted by the National Health Foundation and published in the National Reading Plan Report. No wonder I found great success using the Alphabetic Phonics program to teach all ages of students. The program uses research-based methods to teach the 5 components of reading instruction, which are phonologic awareness, phonics, reading comprehension, vocabulary, and fluency. Research has also proven that phonologic awareness is more highly related to learning to read than intelligence reading, and listening comprehension. And then when lacking, it's the most powerful determinant of failing to learn to read because of its importance in learning the English alphabetic system or in learning how print represents spoken words.
Tammy, will you tell us a few student success stories?
Back when I was teaching first grade, I had this little boy, and he came in second semester, and he was really puzzling because he had the same reading curriculum at his old school. And so I had him sit down and had him read a chapter in the curriculum. And I was like, wow, he's a good reader. And then I started giving him some individual words like cat, bat, mat, and he couldn't read them. That's really weird. How come he read the story just fine, but then he couldn't read these individual words? I thought there's something going on here. So I took him back to the book, and this time I covered up the pictures in the book and just pointed and said, "Can you read this for me?" And he couldn't read anything on the page. So he had memorized the entire reading book because he had it at his past school. So I went to my principal and I said, I don't know what to do because this is second semester and the parents think he knows how to read, and I'm going to have to tell him he can't read anything. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't know why he couldn't read anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. Then the following summer, I took the training to become a certified academic language therapist. And sitting in the training was like, oh my gosh, I know what's wrong with him. Mm-hmm. And so when I went back, I made sure he got put in my Title I class, mm-hmm. and I started teaching alphabetic phonics to him. And I found out he was severely dyslexic. Okay. But he had a really good visual memory and a very good auditory memory. So he just had memorized words, and he had memorized what the other kids were saying. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're a genius.
Yeah.
And when I started teaching alphabetic phonics to him, he started taking off, and he could really read the words on the page instead of just giving what was memorized. So it was really exciting for me to be able to teach him to really read.
What an incredible breakthrough for him and you.
Yeah, I was excited.
That's incredible. Do you have another one?
I do. Fast forward ahead several years, I had a really interesting little boy. He was in my Awana group at church, mm-hmm. and he did not know how to read. I knew that he didn't know how to read. Mm-hmm. And one day he came to me and he was really upset. And I said, and he was crying. I said, well, what's wrong? He says, I'm never going to be able to drive. I said, well, why do you think that? He says, I can't read. How am I going to get a driver's license if I can't read? Yeah. I'm not going to be able to get a job. Mm-hmm. He says, because I can't read. And it just broke my heart. I was like, all right, I got to make sure this kid can read. So I got him in the summer school program that we offer at RLA. And that summer, my son happened to take training. And he said, because all my kids are going to be dyslexic, Mom, so I need the training. I said, okay, well, you can work with this little boy from church. So he started working with this little boy. I go in to observe him, and during the observation, the little boy reads the word dad, and then he starts crying. Oh. And Drayton, my son, he was like, are you okay? What's wrong? And he says, I need a moment. He says, Dad, like my dad. And then I realized he had just connected meaning to a word for the first time in his life. Exciting. So I started crying, and so he was crying, I was crying, and my son was like, what did I do? I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong. I said, he just connected meaning to the word. Yeah. And from then on, that child started taking off because he realized that that word on the page had meaning. He did not realize that words on pages had meaning before that. So it was almost like a Helen Keller moment. So fast forward, my son worked with him that summer. I worked with him after the summer for the next 2 years. And last year I got an invitation for his graduation from Derby High School.
Ooh, yes.
And he was graduating with honors.
Oh my goodness.
And here
Amazing.
he could not read at all in 5th grade. So
wow.
It just makes me so happy.
Yes. Even in wrapping up season 2, teachers don't know what they don't know, but given the tools, you were able to help all these children. Then these are just a couple of all the kids where it's like you can go back and help them.
I know.
And it does save lives.
And it makes you want to keep teaching.
Yeah.
Because you know that you got into this to make a difference, and you are making a difference.
You can hear it right there. The moment things clicked. When teachers finally get the knowledge they were never given, everything changes for them and for their students. Tammy's story reminds us that change doesn't start in policy. It starts in a classroom with a teacher who refuses to give up.
When I first moved to Wichita, I was looking for some students to start working with, and I had a parent reach out to me about her 2nd grade student. And when I first assessed him, he wasn't reading at all. And I started working with him, and within just a few months, he was starting to take off. His self-esteem was changing. He was feeling a lot better about himself. And the mom was like, "You're a miracle worker." And I'm like, "No, I'm not a miracle worker. It's the program. The program is a miracle worker." I ended up working with him for the next 4 years at a private school. And I taught him, and then I taught 15 other kids in small reading groups. And he went on to become a very, very efficient reader and a much better speller, along with the other 15 kids that I was working with.
That's what transformation looks like. One student at a time, one breakthrough at a time. When instruction aligns with how the brain actually learns to read, struggling students stop guessing and start believing they can do it.
When we do teacher training for Alphabetic Phonics, then we always choose a live demo student that's never been worked with before. So it's usually someone that's come to our center and had an assessment done, and then they will refer them to me and ask, "Do you want to use them for a demo student?" So I had a 6th grader last year, and he came in with quite an attitude. He was like, "You think you're going to teach me to read? No one else has taught me to read. I don't think I can learn to read." I'm like, "Okay, this is going to be a challenge."
So Tammy, does he just like sit there while you teach him in front of all the teachers?
Yeah, he kind of sat there while I taught him in front of all the teachers.
Okay.
And, that was the first day. And then the next day, he started participating a little bit more.
Okay.
And he realized over the course of the next week that I wasn't going to have him do anything that I hadn't specifically instructed him in.
Okay.
And he realized that I wasn't going to do anything to embarrass him.
Yeah.
And so he started warming up, and he started doing a little more and a little more each day. And by the 7th day, he was kind of like, "I think I can do this. I think maybe I can learn to read."
Yeah.
Well, I only worked with him for 7 days, and then I refer him on to a private therapist, and the private therapist took him on, and now he's doing great.
Awesome.
The mom said that he's always said he couldn't read, and that he's never volunteered to read for anything, but he actually raised his hand and volunteered to read at church.
Wow.
And she was just shocked.
What began as one teacher's search for answers became a ripple effect, reaching schools, districts, and now entire communities. When teachers are equipped with evidence-based tools, literacy isn't just improved, it's unlocked for everyone.
At our church, I teach children's worship, and I had this little girl, and she came to me one day and she says, "Those babies on TV can read, but I can't." I was like, what? And she says, teach your baby to read on TV. All those babies on TV can read, but I can't even read. I said, really? I said, well, you know what I do, don't you? I teach kids to read. Maybe we can work on finding out a way for you to learn to read. Mm-hmm. So I talked to her dad. Can she be one of my demo students? And I had her come in so I could teach the teachers how to teach kids to read by working with her. So she was in front of all the teachers. At church, she was an angel. But she comes in and she sits down and she says, I didn't know this was going to be school. And I was like, oh no. Uh-oh. She says, I'm not going to do this. I'm like, great. I have like 25 people watching me teach her. What am I going to do with her? And I just told her, I said, well, you don't have to do this. Just watch me. And so I started going through the lesson and just doing it myself. And she just watched. And pretty soon she says, well, can I try that? I'm like, well, if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. By the end, I had her doing most of the things in the lesson. She was the best demonstration student I've ever had. For the teachers, the worst demonstration student for me, because every day she demonstrated something new to the teachers. She would come in and she was tired, laying on the desk, too tired to do it, or she was hopping around because she said she drank coffee and she was hyper and all over the place, or she was under the table because it was too hard. And so she demonstrated every single behavior that a child could possibly have within 7 lessons. I'm like, this is crazy. But after I took her on as my own student, mm-hmm. I talked to the school, and this little girl had spent all of her 2nd grade year pretty much in the office.
Okay.
Because she was in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
And I actually got the school to let me pick her up at 2:30, and I taught her from like 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 5 days a week mm-hmm. after school. She was only reading at a kindergarten level at the beginning. Okay. By the end of the school year, working with her 5 days a week, she read at a 4th grade reading level.
Wow, that is a huge gain.
It was a huge gain.
Wow.
And her confidence and ability went up, and it was so rewarding for mm-hmm. me and her. Mm-hmm. And we became really good friends.
Wow.
She was dyslexic and very ADHD.
Yes.
She had both going on. It was like, whoa.
But at least they got to see every possible behavior.
Oh, the teachers loved it. They were probably quite entertained, thinking, how's she going to handle that one?
Maybe they were getting ideas, too, for what they could do later.
I was kind of in a panic, but we survived.
That's funny. Do you have any others?
Yeah. Last summer, I had another demo student, and it was a little 2nd grade boy that came in, and I never meet my demo students before they come in because I want it to be real. Mm-hmm. So on the first day he comes in, I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm in for it. And so he was all over the room. He was like trying to climb on my whiteboard. He was under the table. He was on top of the table. He was turning his chair over, and I just kept teaching him. Believe it or not, he was actually paying attention to the lesson, mm-hmm. and I just kept teaching him. And he kept saying, I hate reading. I'm like, we just kept working through it. And slowly throughout the week, he started getting a little better mm-hmm. and a little better. And finally, by about the 5th day, he says, that's my favorite part. And it was actually the reading part.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. And then by the last day, he said, can I come to school here?
Wow.
So that's what we did. We actually got him into school at RLA, and he's doing great now. He loves school. He loves learning to read, and he's doing really well.
That's amazing.
That made me so happy.
I bet.
Tammy's journey reminds us that every teacher can be a turning point for a child,
for a classroom, and for an entire system. When the teacher gets it, the future opens wide.
Over COVID, my cousin reached out to me and said, "Hey, my daughter's not reading. Can you look at her and see if maybe she's dyslexic?" So I did some testing through Zoom, and I realized here she was finishing kindergarten, and I didn't know the letters of her alphabet because she was confusing B and D and J, K because they sound the same, and B, C, D, E. She was confusing all those because they sound the same. So I told my cousin I can work with her over Zoom. That was 5 years ago. I'm still working with her over Zoom. She's 11, and she's the top reader in her class. And she loves to read. So teaching her, even over Zoom, has made a huge difference in her life. And it usually doesn't take 5 years, but I was only able to work with her 2 days a week. So that's why it's taken us so long.
Wow. Such an incredible story.
Fast forwarding to today, what trends do you see nationwide in teacher prep and literacy instruction that give you hope?
I'm so excited to see colleges and schools across the nation get on board and train their teachers in evidence-based methods. Many of the schools across our nation are now requiring letters training, which teaches the science of reading research. And letters is a great place to start, but most teachers will still need further training in how to use those evidence-based methods during their reading instruction time. I feel we can improve reading across our nation through teacher training programs that teach teachers how to apply these evidence-based methods. And teaching reading is not about giving teachers reading curricula to teach. It's about training teachers in the way that reading should be taught. As Louisa Moats would say, teaching reading is rocket science.
Hi friends, I'm Ann with Phillips Fundamental Learning Center. If you're a Kansas educator who wants to transform how you teach reading, our Structured Literacy Intervention Specialist course is for you. We have multiple offerings that you can select from. Either our 2-week intensive course, which is offered either online or in person. Our next trainings are in October or June. Or we have a 16-week evening course that runs from January to May. And here's the best part. If you're a Kansas educator, we may have a scholarship available for you. I'd love to help talk you through the process. Just email me at achandler@funlearn.org or call 316-684-7323.
Tammy Kofford's story is a perfect example of the anatomy of change. How one teacher's perseverance, curiosity, and commitment can ripple outward to transform schools, educators, and most importantly, students. It shows us that behind every struggling reader is a teacher searching for answers. Behind every breakthrough is someone willing to keep going, to dig deeper, to learn, to change. Today, Tammy is helping hundreds of teachers avoid the same frustration she felt. And in the process, thousands of kids are gaining the gift of literacy. That's how change happens. To every parent, teacher, and policymaker listening, transformation isn't just possible, it's happening right here in Kansas and across the country. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing your journey. Thanks for listening to My Child Can't Read, a Heartland Crisis. If today's episode resonated with you, if you saw yourself, your child, or your classroom in these stories, you're not alone. We believe every child can learn to read, and every parent and teacher deserves the knowledge to help them. I invite you to take action today by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode, rate and review to help others find this series, and tell us about your story and discover how the Phillips Fundamental Learning Center is changing lives through literacy at funlearn.org/podcast. That's funlearn.org/podcast. and share this show with a friend, teacher, or fellow parent who needs to hear it. All resources, source credits, and tools mentioned in this episode can be found in the show notes. Remember, together we can rewrite the story one reader at a time right here in the Heartland.